Today I have Omer Jamal, founder, CEO of Atlas, building some amazing things. And actually, Omer, why don't I turn over to you to describe Atlas before we launch into our podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Matt. Really pleasure to be here today. I'm Omer Jamal, CEO and founder at Atlas. Atlas is really an AI revenue engine that helps local small businesses grow. So we use AI voice agents, clone your revenue team, do lead qualification. Speed to lead is matters a lot to get back to leads fast enough, but it also does a lot more like answering missed calls and receptionist services, doing some outbound dialing and things of that nature. So it's been a fun ride. We're introducing some new products to bolster some lead capture as well that I'm excited to talk to you about today, Matt.
Awesome. We'll get to those. But I really would love to start with exactly where you started, which is instead of going after these massive enterprises, you're looking at the other end of the market. You're looking at how to help people that may not have as much infrastructure around them to take advantage of all these new capabilities. So maybe can you tell me a little bit more? What are some of the specific use cases that you're helping expand?
Yeah, so I've sort of been an entrepreneur now for 8 years, and my thesis has always been that local small businesses need help. You could think anywhere from 10 to 200 employees. They don't have the infrastructure available that a Fortune 500 might have access to in front of them. So, with that said, we've helped many firms such as home services organizations, professional services organizations, solve their problem for missed calls. We've had customers that were missing 35-40% of their volume of calls. They spend a bunch of money on marketing, but calls just don't get answered. We've reduced ad spend ROI quite significantly because there's customers who spent 30, 40, $50,000 on ads, but their sales team does not get back to those leads fast enough. There's tons of studies out there, Harvard being the most popular one, which says that if you don't get back to a lead in 5 minutes or less, you lose 80% chance of closing that lead. So
Wow.
as you can imagine, not everybody gets back to their leads in 5 minutes. We solved that problem of lead qualification with AI agents, which works exceptionally well. Literally, like I said, it's literally cloning your sales team, cloning your revenue team, and we've had a number of clients sort of utilize us for a number of use cases, namely being lead qualification, 24/7 receptionist, or booking appointments as well.
Cool. And you've started prior companies. In fact, you've had some exits and whatnot. And I'm curious, is it different this time around, given what you're building and the market you're going after? Is the experience different?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so different. I mean, the game of entrepreneurship and startup land has changed so drastically over the last 10 years. When I first started my business, it was late 2016, early 2017. Even when we exited successfully in 2022, there was only about maybe 10 competitors in total, and we were the leader of the pack. Today, I make a joke all the time that AI startups are like kind of like the restaurant business now. There's just so many of them. I think one of the key things with AI is that it's turned everybody into a coder. As you know, there's this new term that's coined as well, vibe coding. So it's quite an interesting space, right? Like I think distribution is what matters the most in today's day and age at an exceptional level, and that's totally different. Before it was all about just get the best product out the door. And obviously you need to focus on a niche, distribution, all that stuff. But today, I think if you don't have distribution, you're not going to get much traction. So it's one of those things that, and the game of distribution has changed a lot, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's kind of where I was going. I was going to ask you about that. Tell me more.
yeah, like my previous business was primarily a sales automation business. So we helped lots of financial advisors and wealth managers reach out to leads and connect with leads, which were high net worth prospects, which were tough to get a hold of. But we were successful because we had a lot of automation built in to do that, and it was a great business. Today, if you're anything like me, and I'm sure you get a lot of emails as well, everybody gets like 150 emails a day. There's a cajillion sales automation tool which everybody's using, and everybody's inbox is crowded. And with AI, everybody's utilizing these tools, not only sales automation but also AI personalization. So I think, outbound, we have not been able to crack at all, surprisingly, and that being my strength, we have not been able to crack because I think the game has just changed. So, you need some more like content, founder-led content. We have an influencer partnership that's been quite fruitful for us. And I think just getting your name out there with some sort of a test and that aha moment right off the bat, which is what's available on our website, that's gained the most traction so far.
Tell me more about that because what is that sales process like as you're going after small local businesses and you're bringing them frankly, a high technology, put that in quotes, product? How do they interpret it? How are you selling it? What's the experience like? What's that journey?
Yeah, we're trying to be the AI agents for dummies, right? Trying to make it as simple, plug and play as possible. So, our North Star really is that how do you give an Apple-like simple experience to a small business owner who understands it to something that they can sort of be relate to, something that they're already problem aware of, and it's something that they can incorporate in their business in a seamless fashion, so to speak. So, to bring that puzzle together, it's all about drawing some analogies that, hey, this is what a staff member would do, but this is what an AI agent can sort of do. Bucketing the calls further, right? There's tier one calls, tier two calls, tier three calls. So the AI is very good at the tier one calls, as an example. So
How,
that's the
how do you
journey.
make that comparison? Yeah. So how do you make that comparison of to ensure trust and so they're ready to delegate that task to the agent?
Yeah, and what I'll say to that, Matt, is I think it's an evolution of a process, and I think the forward thinkers in the SMB world are adapting to it. So it's still quite early because there is a little bit of a scaredness factor. Is
Yeah.
AI going to do the job of humans? That's a brute, honest reality. However, if you look at a traditional small business, they miss about 30% of their calls.
Hmm.
When you're a business that's missing 30% of your calls and you're spending maybe 10% of your dollars on marketing, you're generating a lot of leads, but
Wow.
you're not even getting back to your leads. So they don't want to hire a staff member because the local staff member might be $40,000, a low-level junior employee. If somebody were to hire that eats into their margins. If they go offshore, you still have to spend about 10 to 12 grand, and then you have the problem of an accent and all that good stuff that can be nuanced to relate to an existing customer. So AI kind of comes to rescue, right? And AI can do that job because it's an easy job. It's a tier one job. You're not selling a complicated product of any sort. You're qualifying leads and you're booking into the calendar, which AI is quite exceptional at doing. So, we've had to sort of niche down super specific into that to relate to our customers a little bit more and walk them through this entire journey that I showcased to you and also put some ROI numbers on it. So
Yeah.
uh, that's been the formula so far, and we've just cracked the code. So we're still learning from it as well.
Congratulations. I mean, it sounds a bit like you're giving them the opportunity to pick up these opportunities off the floor they would otherwise not get access to, and so that makes a nice bridge. They're not having to so much delegate away. They're able to gain additional opportunities because they're utilizing it. Um, as you're deploying something like that, I would assume, especially given the simplicity, I would assume you're thinking in terms of and you're expressing in terms of outcomes. How do you express those outcomes and how have you packaged that into your bundle?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let's take a step back and think about it from the perspective of a small to medium-sized business owner. Traditionally, they're used to hiring in-house or hiring an external agency of some sort that makes
Hmm.
them a bunch of promises to help them grow. And
Keyword promises.
we all know where that lands. And agencies are notorious for confusing the small business owner. Tons of dashboards, no reporting, lack of communication, black box around everything, even if it might be simple. So our approach is actually opposite, right? Where our positioning is really that we're giving you AI agents, which are designed to grow your business, but this is your growth team in a box. It's not going to do everything, but it's going to do just enough at a fraction of the cost to help the job done to you. So I think that positioning is what's sort of resonating with customers. That it's kind of in their mind. It's a comparison to what a marketing agency does, but it's leveraging AI to do it, and it's a growth team in a box with an AI. So that's the correlation that we're sort of making, and that analogy that we're sort of making. I think is resonating with that client. But it's an evolution, like I said, Matt, right? Not everybody is fully on board with AI. SMBs are still willing to give things a crack, but you have to solve their problem. If you're not solving their problem, it's hard to make any sort of headway in there.
I mean, that should always be the case, right? You don't want to be shelfware. But this has been an interesting sort of development that I've seen over the last year. I'm talking to founders and I'm hearing more and more people describe their pricing and their packaging in terms of customer outcomes
Hmm.
instead of based on, I don't know, transactions or some other factor that's within the product. Have you given have you given that thought? Is that something that even resonates with the folks you're trying to sell to?
Yeah, I think that's also an interesting shift that everybody wants outcome-based pricing now. So we do have plans, and they are outcome generated in the sense that they're based on the number of talk time that the AI agents are going to have.
Hmm.
But we bundled it in and made it super super simple. So for example, you can get started with maybe 5 hours a month if you want. Maybe you can get started with 20 hours a month if you want, or maybe 50 hours a month. So just resonates versus like the traditional minutes, and then someone's just stuck here like calculating the number of minutes that they're going to utilize. So we've tried to make it as simple as possible and bundle those into three sort of packages: starter, growth, market leader, which we think is equivalent to two people talking and texting full time. So that's how we've done it. It allows you to call and do the texting. So our leadership on that, so to speak, is like, okay, this is the outcome that you want, which is this many amount of hours of talk time, this many SMS. This is the best bundle, that thing that's good for you. So not truly pay as you go, but still outcome oriented in that bundle.
Yeah, and you can draw a straight line from one to the other. And I do think it's really intriguing, this concept that eventually we collectively might be able to get to a place where we're able to describe or discuss the actual business outcome directly and have these agents and whatnot where we can tie them specifically to a KPI of the organization we're selling to. And I agree with you. I don't think we're quite there yet. And I think where you are is exactly where people hope to be, which is you're in a spot where you can actually draw a straight line. But I keep seeing if someone's cracked the code on how to get to that next step, which in some cases, if you get close enough to like a consulting organization often will, or an outsourcing agent often will have those kinds of very straight
True.
lines. And so if you can get closer, it might work. What have you found in terms of challenges? Like what's been the biggest challenge in rolling this?
Yeah, I mean, where do we start, right? So like I said a little bit earlier, Matt, I think the game has changed so much. The way that we all as just as humans, the way that we consume content, the way that the buyer journey is, the way that outcomes are, right? Because outcomes are also very different. There's different types of, like, who would have thought you're sitting here talking about minutes of an AI agent? You're used to hiring a human to do a job, right? So I think, it's all about how do you take all these moving parts, which are really positioning the business itself, positioning the outcome itself for the business owner, and then solving sort of their problem. How do you sort of find that perfect trifecta, and share that with them in a way that's cohesive? And that's what the age-old saying goes: you got to go through 1,000 iterations before you get to the perfect outcome. So I think we're still iterating, right? How do you do it? It's the competition is also quite heavy in here. So I think entrepreneurs in general are sort of learning that collectively as we go along, in finding out how to bridge the gap between those three trifectas together. So uh, listen, running a business is no joke. Elon Musk says this, right? Starting a startup is like flying out of a plane and chewing glass on the way down. So you're dealing with all types of challenges, whether it's employees, team members, it's product, AI hallucinating, customers dealing with customer problems or whatnot. So it's a fun ride, but there's many to talk about there.
Absolutely. I was thinking back as you said, talked about the trifecta to your earlier comment about the market itself changing. Like as we bring in more and more intelligent capabilities, it's changing the very dynamics of the market itself. So like outbound doesn't work as well because so many messages are flooding into our emails and they can be hyper personalized, which means, and people can play all sorts of games to make it seem as though there's actually something there that you're interested in when actually you don't know them at all. Like my favorite, least favorite item right now is the auto booked calendar invite where they just send you an invite. Like
Yeah,
you don't know what the heck it is. It just shows up in your calendar. I'm betting that works for someone. It bugs me because my calendar's it
it
fills
bugs
up.
me too.
So, but I think that it's interesting as we build these agents and bring them to market, we change the market itself and how it comes back around, then we have to readjust and readjust, and that cycle is going faster and faster. It's not a slow life
You're
cycle. It's
so correct. You're so correct. You know, that cycle is so fast. It's like you and I are in this space and we can't keep up, right? What used to happen 6 months ago is drastically different today. Things are changing in real time here. Like you said, outbound's not working. Inbound's changed drastically too, right?
mm-hmm.
You used to be able to set up just basic ads, but now the cost of Google and Facebook are skyrocket. They're 10 times higher than they were 10 years ago. I think we're all learning these playbooks as we go live, and I think, building in public is one of them. I think self-serve is one of them. Community marketing is super important. Influencer marketing, I think, is also super important. Um, and users want to learn from each other. So it's quite challenging but interesting at the same time to find that trifecta and manage it in real time.
I'm curious if you are seeing it work a little differently given your customer base. This, the small business, are there some additional levers you can pull that you wouldn't have access to if you're going after the standard, medium to large enterprise?
Yeah, I think the biggest lever point that we have is our influencer partnership with Dan Martell. We're a Martell Ventures portfolio company. So we've seen some traction through that sort of partnership as they've gone out and put out some videos and such on us, and that audience is primarily small business owners. So they use us, right? They utilize us. Dan Martell himself uses us for King's Club, for SaaS Academy. They've had a lot of success with it. And bringing that to the broader audience with small business owners, we've seen a lot of success on it. I think that's the new modern day lever, which used to be outbound back in the day.
Yeah, social is so critical. I mean, we all we want restaurant suggestions from people we know. We don't want a random one. So of course we're going to start thinking that way about software. And
Yep.
software has become much more personal.
Yep.
There are many options available, as you said earlier, and people want the ones that feel like they understand their business or communicate in some emotional way. That those are
Mhm.
the applications they want to use.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
Staying on that just for a moment, are you finding that the application itself is different? Are you actually like the user experience and the connection?
Yeah.
Is that changing as well?
Yeah. You mean from old technology days to new technology days? Is that what you mean?
Sure. I mean, a lot of applications previously, the user experience was much more, standard, get a bunch of panels and a couple navigation. But now
Yeah.
as people are bringing in agents, especially agents like the ones you're describing that have more voice capabilities and can communicate back and forth, are you rethinking like
Yeah.
the
That
actual experience?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great point, Matt. We when we originally sort of launched, we had our standard, navigations go through these series of sort of 6 to 7 steps and get an AI agent up and running, which only took 10 minutes, right? Now though, to reduce that friction point and remove any complexities involved with helping set up that customer, we've actually developed an AI agent that does the onboarding for you. So if I was to make a comparison here, the best one is ChatGPT. Now people are just used to talking to ChatGPT, so you can literally log into Atlas, just talk to it like it's ChatGPT, and it will actually go in the background because it has smarter capabilities to set up a campaign for you. So You can set up a campaign literally in 10 minutes by telling it, hey, I want to do outbound calls to these leads that just came in, and can you set it up for me? And it'll tell you, it'll ask you a couple of questions, it'll understand and do it for you. So absolutely, that experience, I think we're going towards agentic experience versus traditional UI, which is sort of getting a little bit outdated now.
Yeah, it also means that you're treating your customer as a human. They can
Hmm.
have a human type conversation as opposed to having to learn your tool and suddenly become this sort of technologist under the covers. They're not there to be a technologist. They're trying to run their business, which, as you and I've just described, it's hard enough to run a business to
Yep.
then also have to go learn all the different software everywhere. So that then I would imagine also builds trust in your software because your software is having conversations with their customers. So if they
Yep.
can have a conversation with you and it works, then they can further trust that when you have a conversation with their customer, it's going to also work and sort of have that extension, right?
Exactly. And then the beautiful thing about like an agentic experience versus your traditional UI, not only is it more human-like as you alluded to, but it also has memory, right? It also learns behavior about the business. It can also scrape information about that business, learn it. So that experience is a lot more personalized, way more than it would be with a natural human, right? And it can give you answers and guide you in a way that it's like you and I are chatting right now. You can almost predict like what I'm going to say or vice versa, but that's what the AI is designed to kind of do to make it that simple versus just a traditional old chatbot question and answer based. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Do you find that you would invest more in that space as a result? Like, how do you
That's
how
the
do you
bet.
think about your, yeah?
That's
Tell
the
me
bet.
more about that.
Yeah, like I've sort of been reading a lot about this concept of agentic experience versus traditional UI. If you just think about UI in general, it's changed a lot in the last 10 years, right? Everybody wants that Airbnb-like experience. Couple of clicks, lessen the clicks, and get that aha moment. 5 to 10 years ago, people, for those who are hardcore software users, I mean, look at Salesforce, right? It is so difficult to navigate through Salesforce or sign up for a
I think
business.
it's always been hard though.
It's always been hard, but they've sort of created this whole black box community out there.
Yeah, it's true.
There's consultants out there whose sole job is to implement Salesforce for XYZ businesses, right? And it's not like there's 20 of them. There's probably like 2,000 of these guys,
At
um,
least.
at least. So I think then the next wave of that is like the Airbnb like experience, right? Super click, drag and drop, as little clicks as possible to get that aha moment, mobile friendly, all that good stuff. So I think the next one is agentic experience where you don't click at all. You either talk to the AI or whether it's in typing or verbally, and the AI does the clicking for you in the background to get you to the desired outcome. So, where we as humans are going to be talking a lot to the cameras are going to become like the keyboards, so to speak, right? Cameras and microphones are going to become the keyboards and mouses, so to speak, of today of the agentic experience. So we're entering, I think, an area of talking to machines and getting the software to do what it is that we want. So I've been reading a lot about it. Our first bet into that is with the onboarding experience and also the TV ad agent that we just launched as well. So the idea is to replace what a marketing agency does, just talk to the AI agent, it'll collect all the information, and then it'll launch the ads for you in
Oh,
the
cool.
back end. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm that progression that we've seen where people were building ads and then they start to realize like growth matters, capital G growth, and you should start to think about, the Airbnb style couple clicks, what matters, what's the event that most associates to whatever your conversion is. Uh, Even that, as you're saying, even that's starting to fade as we see this next generation where it's like, no, it needs to be a more humane type interaction. Um, how so I'm assuming you've just come out with this notion of talking to it to place ads. I'm curious how you're seeing adoption. Do you get higher adoption numbers when you go down that road and you start to provide those experiences? Do you have
Yeah.
enough information to know?
Yeah, so let's take a step back. What happened here, Matt, is I was doing a presentation to about 600 people. And as you know, I ran a sales automation lead gen business for financial advisors, where at our peak, we were generating more than 8,000 leads per month, right? So after that presentation, that presentation was more geared towards it was a speed to lead masterclass, how you should get back to leads fast enough using voice agents. A lot of customers came up to me, and the primary audience was small business owners, right? This is like your kitchen remodeler, all the way to your pest control company, to a financial advisor, to an accountant, legal office, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people came up to me and they're like, "Hey, Omer, I love that you're solving this problem, but I'd love to figure out how to solve lead gen," right?
Hmm.
And I noticed that that was kind of a pain point across the board. So I went to the drawing board, started talking to some people, and started seeing what's the under-monetized channel of today, because the game has changed quite a bit since 2017. And the answer to that after about 2 to 3 months of research was premium TV ads. So this is, Hulu, Amazon, Disney Plus, ESPN, all the cord cutters that essentially sign up to streaming TV. So you can do a very high-fi type advertising using Google VO3 for the creatives,
Yeah.
and then launching an ad on one of these channels, which is showing the right message at the right time to that consumer in precision targeted way. So, now when you think about performance marketing, Facebook, Google, all these are manual clicks. The costs have gone through the ringer there. People spend 3 hours a day watching TV. So we're sort of launching an ad agent that collects all information in quite a conversational manner, and it's an AI agent that does this entire experience. So it's fairly new. We have gotten about 20 or 25 customers on it already. So the response has been crazy good, but it's something that we're going to be launching very, very shortly.
It's interesting. It's almost the only way you can solve that problem is via agents and automation, because it would be so difficult to build that kind of content for a local market.
Mhm.
Just the overhead would be really difficult. So I'm curious. I mean, time will tell, but I'm curious if this opens up new doors for people and to think about that they would otherwise not have even
I
thought
well,
was
I think
possible.
I think that's it, right, Matt? Because if you're a small business owner, let's put ourselves in their shoe. If you're a small business owner, you'd think that the TV ads are reserved for the big brands with the big budget,
Yeah,
right?
completely inaccessible.
Completely inaccessible. You'd think that you got to spend, I don't know, 50, 100, $200,000 just to even get like a 20-second placement. Well, now you could do it for less than $50 a day, right?
Wow.
And AI will do all of the work, so you don't need to pay any expensive retainers to an expensive marketing agency who might ask you for a $20,000 a month minimum,
Well, I mean, and you can iterate.
and you can
It's
iterate.
not because in the other model, okay, let's say you did scrape together 200K to go spend on that. That is your ad. You are not going to touch it. It's going to stay there and you're going to run the
Yeah,
heck out of it. But
yeah.
now, I mean, I'm assuming with something like what you're describing, you can let it go, see how it performs, make modifications.
Yeah,
That's
all of the
incredible.
above. Optimize, launch it, place it in the right spot, get the best performance out there for that business.
And so there we go. Yet again, another way in which it's like this, it's this loop, right? Of we bring these agents to market, it changes the market itself, creates new avenues, and then it comes back around. They're going to get more leads that have to be picked up off the ground because they're not going to have a way to pick them up otherwise, right? They'll get all
Exactly.
those
You got
calls.
it. Full
So
cycle.
yeah, full cycle, and it changes the entire market. Um, Thank you so much for the conversation today. I always like to end on a question around skills. And as we think about agents coming into the market, people have to find new skills. What do you think is the new human skill that's needed to sort of adjust to this changing world that we're seeing?
Oh, that's an easy one. Prompt engineering. Right? Everybody's a coder, everybody's a writer, everybody needs to get good at their English writing skills. If you're not going to do it, you're going to fall behind. So it's literally like you're do not be a dropout. Get good at English writing skills, become a good prompt engineer, learn what you need to do there.
And you think this is going to be across everybody?
I
Everyone's
think
going to have
so.
to figure this out.
I think
Yeah,
so. I'm wearing these Meta glasses. They have AI in them now,
yeah,
right?
it's
Like
everywhere.
this is the world we're going to. It's going to be engraved in our phones, our glasses, computers. ChatGPT usage is higher than Google.
Yeah.
Uh, so you got
And,
to get good at it.
and as you're describing, people are writing prompts into, I mean, they don't think of them as prompts, but people are having to use language to describe what they need. So you better
Correct.
become articulate.
Yeah. So
You're
you
going to have
got
to
to
be able to
think.
describe it.
Exactly. So you got to think clear, you got to write clear to get the desired outcome.
Get a clear outcome. Exactly right.
Exactly.
Well, Omer, thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Matt, and it was wonderful speaking to you today.
Awesome.